je, dobar je, da. A tu sam 5 godina. A on, mi uvijek mislimo njima da su bolje nego što je.
Radio sam s Njemcom, radio sam na njemačkom kursu.
Da.
Što ste dobro koordinirali?
Da.
Ima i kod njih simpatije, rođaci, prijatelji.
Da, je.
I oni su bili izgovorili taj neki profili,
Samo da vam kažem prije početka live streama da naravno za vrijeme live streama bi bilo dobro da nam je malo onako tišina. A ako budete baš žedni, I switch to English. Oh my God. Just to mention that I would like to that you will be quiet because it will be a live stream. If you need something, it is here. I will tell that the panel will be afterwards. I will not tell that the panel will be afterwards, so we will have the lectures 2.5 hours. Later on, we will have half an hour panel discussion, which will not be part of the live stream. So just that you know. So, okay. My phone is... Yeah, and switch off the phone to avoid the ringing, yeah. Everybody forget this. Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear partners, dear guests, in the name of the Hydro Building Systems, in the name of my team and my personal name, I wish you very warm welcome on our sustainability event. It's a great honor to have such an audience here and also the live stream and in more than 10 countries today. Today we will have 3 lectures, and it will take 2.5 hours, and we will talk about the sustainability. From the different perspective, we will talk how to combine circular economy and this technical design, how to combine architecture and technology, and at the end, not least, how to improve our work with sustainability and usability, which is really nice. It's my pleasure today to have today on the stage one of the famous Croatian architect studio, Trial HD, which have a large numerous of projects locally and abroad. Today with us, it's my honor to say very warm welcome to Sasha Begovic and Zoran Suša. Additionally with us, it's Slovenian customer Reflex. It's metal builder and glass producer as well, represented by Ms. Breda Kotar. And today they will talk about one of the most environmental friendly using furniture factory in Norway, the Plus, using low carbon aluminum facades. So it will be really great lectures, and we will learn a lot from the experience. This is good. And last but not least, from the Hydro perspective, we will see how to build beyond the future, how we could move with a small step and change a lot in our everyday life and everyday work. Today, my pleasure is also to say very warm welcome to Joris Verhust. And we will have a lecture to see how it's going on. So please, we could see just a video promotion of the Hydro, and then we could continue with the lecture.
Today, some of you will contribute to change the world. Outside, the world seems to stand still. Inside, it has never been as innovative as today. Rethinking for a better future. Because the world of tomorrow has already started. By 2050, 70% of the world population is expected to be living in cities and urban areas. Increasing energy consumption and carbon emissions from buildings. Our sector represents 39% of global energy-related carbon emissions, which is why investments in new buildings will have a huge impact on life quality and climate change. Drawing on our 70 years of experience, we are now developing circular aluminum products, which are helping reduce carbon emissions in the user phase. But we feel we need to go beyond. When looking at the life cycle of a building, you will find that the upfront emissions represent 1/3 of overall CO2 emissions. Our aim is to reduce by half our CO2 emissions by 2025. To achieve this goal, we are going beyond recycled low-carbon aluminum products and running every part of our business as sustainably as possible. It begins with the origin of the metal. We use Hydro CIRCAL aluminum, which have among the lowest carbon emissions in the world. We also go beyond aluminum by working with suppliers of recycled components who share the same values. We are continuously reducing and optimizing energy consumption at our production sites by investing in cleaner, renewable energy. And we're using less packaging materials and delivering in better ways. In the end, it all starts with us. Sustainability flows through every decision we make, every action we take. But let's see the broader picture. We are going beyond ourselves to make a bigger difference. As a part of Hydro, we commit to empower 500,000 people with education by the end of 2030. We are all in this together. We know we can make a difference because we care about building a better future. Beyond tomorrow.
Hydro is pioneering sustainability approach. In the heart of sustainability is our innovation and technology. I kindly asked Joris to tell us a little bit about our strategy and our going forward. Please.
Hello everybody, and thank you for having me on this event in this beautiful setting. So, as Janka already introduced, I will be talking about our strategy moving forward with what we started, let's say, some 3-4 years ago in the Wicona world. We have already come quite a far way. You already have seen in the video, in the introduction, that we are tackling a lot of topics. So today, in this short presentation, I will not be able to tackle all of these topics, but I will try to do my best to give you a bit of a complete picture of all the actions that we have been starting in the last 3 to 4 years. But let me first start by explaining why we go to this sustainability strategy. I don't think this comes as a surprise, but we know that we are at the moment in a real climate emergency situation. If we look at the summer of 22, I think in all of Europe we have seen extreme heat temperatures, extreme drought. I think it's undeniable that something is really happening. And it means that we as a society probably we are facing one of the biggest challenges we will ever face, because we need to reduce the impact of climate change. Yeah? A huge task, a task which we will all have to do. It will be in our daily lives, it will be in our business environment. We really have to change the way that we are currently consuming materials, the way that we are currently emitting a lot of CO2, greenhouse gases into the global world, because we need to keep this climate change under control. Yeah? Secondly, maybe you know, but in the coming decades, we will be 2 billion more people on this globe. So the challenge will be that we need to reduce the impact of emissions, but secondly, we will need to reduce this with even 2 billion more people. So that's really a challenge. Yeah? Thirdly, we are also looking at the fact that in these global growth, we are all moving more and more into cities. So by 2050, we expect 70% of all people to live in cities, which means that the way that we are operating our cities, the way that we are doing urban development, the way that we have to live together, closer together, we will have to reduce pollution, we will have to tackle noise issues, we will have to tackle waste. So it really means that the cities of the future will be a challenge. And of course, we, from our side, also you in the audience, we are working in the construction world, and that's where really we will see some big changes coming. Yeah? So on top of that, recently you have all seen the situation this year with energy crisis that we are now facing. Electricity prices, gas prices, petrol prices, everything is going up. We see the effect on the inflation, we see the effect on material cost. Really a challenge on top of what we already have to do. Why? Because in the future we will need to take care of where do we get our materials, how can we reduce the amount of materials that we use also in construction. We need to try to reduce the amount of raw materials. We need to try to think about circular concepts, recycling of materials. So really a big challenge. And of course, we still have people that say, okay, it's not really my problem. I'm not so worried at the moment. Let me just do what I do best. But guys, we have to be honest. It's not something that is voluntary anymore. We are now in a situation where also governments are really imposing new regulations, new legislations moving forward. So it will not be a choice, it will really be part of our daily life in the coming years. So as a good example, we see now from the European Green Deal actually that the first legislations have been set up on an international scale, but also on a national scale. So you see that some countries are already going faster than others in Europe. And we are really seeing that legislation will drive the future way that we have to do our construction. Yeah? So we want to stay on top of that. We want to stay ahead of that to be ready for the construction of the future. Especially because 39% of all energy-related emissions are related to buildings. So if you look at all the actions that we can take as a society, 39% of that is linked to buildings, which means, of course, it's an easy target. Buildings will really be a focus point for all the legislation. When you are talking about new buildings, there will be more severe regulations. When you talk about renovation, we know that there will be a huge amount of renovation to be done because we still see countries where we are still using single glass or where we are using systems which are really not performing. So in the coming decade, let's say, we will see a huge shift driven by legislation to move to more performing solutions. Luckily, we see in our business that more and more partners in the construction world are aware of this trend, about this evolution. So we are now talking to big developers, to big contracting companies, to big architect firms, in order to investigate, to analyze, to understand where can we make the biggest efforts in order to reduce the impact of buildings. And that's really a very interesting journey that we started already several years ago. But it will be part of our life in the future. It will be part of your life in the future. So what we try to do in the Wicona world is we try to create a campaign which is called Build Beyond Tomorrow, which is taking all the points that I just talked about into one campaign. It's like a full umbrella where we want to show the market how we, as Wicona, have come up with a strategy moving forward, how we are really in the lead into sustainability when it comes down to aluminium windows, doors, facades, sliding systems, and so on. So the Beyond campaign, it's a kind of holistic approach. We have 3 pillars there. We have the product pillar, we have the company pillar, the society pillar. In my presentation today, I will try to show you some examples of where we are working on. But what we try to do as a summary, we want to go to 100% circularity by 2025. That's very soon, yeah, very challenging. Trying to reduce the amount of new premium raw materials. We want to try to go for 100% recycled content. Secondly, as a company, as a full hydro building system company, we try to reduce our CO2 footprint by half, comparing 2018 by 2025, so that's also a big challenge. And thirdly, we come to society, and that's a very important pillar. A company cannot be successful if the society is not working properly. Yeah? And that's why we need to be very conscious that companies that have a ticket for the future are also companies that are supporting society in all types of means. Yeah? It's like an entry ticket you need if you want to be a company of the future. So, for all these pillars, we have a lot of sub-actions. We will not be able to cover all these topics today. I will only highlight a couple of them. But it's really a holistic approach. It's really a new strategy. It's a new culture which we have in hydro building system, in our Wicona world. So let's go a bit more in detail. What I do suggest, and that's an interesting exercise to do, I would really advise everybody in the audience also to have a look at the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Yeah? Why? Because from the United Nations, we have a list of 17 main action points, main goals. And if you are operating a company, if you are a company owner, if you are working in a company with a team, I really advise you to just do a kind of brainstorm session to look at these goals, to understand, are we really covering 17 of these goals? Because some companies, they are focused on one of these pillars, which is already very good. We need to motivate everybody. But a lot of them, they forget about all these other goals. So that's always a good exercise, just even for a team building, go for that. Because this has learned us in the Wicona world also how we will move forward into the future. Good, so this was a bit of an introduction about where we go with the strategy and what about the Beyond campaign. Let's dive a bit more in detail, and let's start with the product pillar. Yeah? In the product pillar, I must say we have a lot of actions ongoing, and that's also currently the pillar where we can bring the biggest advantages if we want to reduce our footprint as a company. Yeah? So I already talked about the fact that buildings are really important in the full society to reduce our footprint, because 39% is related to buildings. The way that we are constructing buildings, the way that we are maintaining buildings, the way that we are heating or cooling buildings, 39%. But out of this 39%, at the moment, 72% is really related to the use stage of a building. And that's an area where we need to start talking about life cycle assessment. Yeah? So in the past, in all of our debates, also for you in your world, we have mainly been focusing on the use stage of a building. Yeah? We have been focusing on the performance level of our products. For instance, in the use stage, we need a certain U value, we need a certain tightness, we really need performance criteria. In the future, we need to start thinking differently in the construction world, because a building, it's not only about the use stage, it is really about the full cycle from where we get the materials. Do we understand which materials we are using? Do we understand what is the material impact of these materials? Then we need to think about the construction stage. How do we construct it? Do we do it in a traditional way, or do we go to an industrial, let's say, mass production type of setup? Then, of course, we have 40 years of use stage of the building. Then we need to think about demolishing the building or transforming the building. Yeah? And then, and that's also not something we should forget, we need to think about what do we do with these materials once the building has been demolished or transformed afterwards, because the materials are available. We need to think about recycling these materials. Yeah? So you see, this full thinking about an entire building life cycle is something new in our world. It will mean that the way that we talk to architects, to consultants, to building owners, to contractors, to facade workers and so on, will change our way of working. And it's not something that will happen in 30 years from here. It's already happening now. Yeah? We are already now talking to contractors, to consultants, to building owners for new projects to think about what is the effect of this building after 40 years? What will we do with this building after 40 years? And now we are already taking decisions which will have an impact, not now, but what will have an impact in 40 years. Yeah? Okay. When we focus on the use stage, let's start with that one, because that's where we got the 72%. In our world, we see that it's really becoming more and more complex. Yeah? For the people that are in the business long time, we know 25 years ago we were talking about the U value and a safety level and double glazing, but it was not such a complex world. Nowadays, the building envelope, our world, the world of the windows, the doors, the sliders, the facades, it's really getting a very complex world. Why? Yeah, simply said, because what we are doing is actually, we are taking care of the building envelope, and the building envelope is really very important on the full footprint of a building, especially because the building envelope determines what is the usage of emissions during, for instance, 40 years. Yeah? So the complexity in our world, it's ever increasing, and what you do see is that sustainability nowadays, it's becoming a standard topic in a lot of the debates that we are having. We are getting questions about certification. We are getting questions about cradle to cradle. We are getting questions about environmental effect, hazardous materials, EPD calculations, life cycle assessment, the choice between triple glazing, double glazing. You know, a lot of topics are making our life more complex. What is probably at this moment the main driver, I would say it's still insulation. Yeah? So the choice that you have on the insulation level of your systems in the building envelope currently has a huge impact on the entire life cycle of the building. Simply said, if you have the choice between double glazing or triple glazing, we know that triple glazing has a certain cost, but what we now do is we are offsetting the cost of the triple glazing compared to double glazing, and we see that the payback of triple glazing, it's really getting very short, especially now with the current energy costs for heating, cooling. We see that the payback period of better insulation in our systems, it's really getting very short. So we are going very far in these topics. So for instance, this is a system called Wickline 115 AFS, which is a composite window, double glazing. If you look at the system, you would say, wow, this is really heavy, this is really expensive. And yes, it is quite solid, a very performing solution. But when you then start calculating on the full life cycle of the system, and you are taking into consideration that you are taking care of condensation, ventilation, solar shading inside one system, that you are talking about a system which can be easily recycled, and then you do the full calculation, you will see that in a lot of cases, these type of systems are really the systems of the future. Yeah? Second topic, which we have more and more, it's about ventilation, about air tightness, about really creating a building envelope which is sealing the building. Because nowadays, let's be honest, our windows, doors, facades, sliders, on the level of the wind, the water, and the air tightness, they are very well performing. But where does it go wrong? Mainly on the building connection. So we see more and more on-site testing for blower tests to see really where in the building do we get the leakages of the air. Yeah? Because you can have a very performing window, and the window can be really very tight, but if the leakages are coming in some other area, in the building connection, for instance, yeah, then you have the same problem. Then you again have heat and cooling losses. So that's an important area. And that's also where, in the system world, we are continuously developing new solutions. For instance, this was a system, Wixlite 150 PS, which was launched a couple of years ago, which is actually the best of both worlds between windows and sliding systems. You know, windows are very tight because of the EPDM gaskets. Sliders are more challenging, but you need sliders to really have big elements. So we make new systems which are very airtight and very performing in order to really make a very good sealing. And of course, a very good sealing means also a very good acoustic performance. Good. Then a third trend that we see in the world, and that's really a more complex trend, it's everything which is related to energy control of a building. And then you are talking about how to handle ventilation, because what we want to do is we want to keep the building envelope closed, but you need to at the same time have natural ventilation for the people living and working inside the buildings. You are talking about solar shading. We are doing a lot of research on what is the best solution on solar shading for each type of building. But it's a really complex mix, and you see that in the building envelope, these type of combinations between ventilation, solar shading, building automation, night cooling principles are really getting more and more complex. But we are making solutions for that. And one solution that is really getting a prominent position, it's what we call modular construction. So, you know, I was talking in the introduction about the fact that the material cost is going up, the labor cost is going up. It means that the traditional way of making buildings, it's getting more and more difficult because we go more and more to an industrialized fabrication, to a modular type of fabrication. And that's where you get concepts like unitized facades more and more. For the unitized facades, I can say quite proudly that Wicona has been always one of the pioneers for unitized facades. We have been developing new generations, which is the Victec EL Evo. I will come back to that. But we are really able to cover very complex projects nowadays. And as you can see, this is an example of a project that we did in Germany. The unitized facades, they are really about the full building envelope of any type of building, which can be adapted into functionality, but can also be adapted to the material choice, where we can keep the core of the building. And for instance, after 40 years, we can say we take out the envelope of the building, we keep the core of the building, but we put an entirely new envelope around it, which at that time gives the opportunity to the building owner to decide which type of building do I want. Do I transform my building from office to residential, or from residential to another type of application, or even story by story you can change. So modular concepts in the future will offer a lot of flexibility without each time having to demolish buildings entirely. So here you see some projects that we have done globally, and you can see that from an architectural point, from a functionality point, these unitized type of solutions really offer a lot of flexibility. Yeah? And we can go very far into that, because we also have a system called Victec Module Air, where we are moving from a single skin to a double skin solution, which has a dry climate control inside of the facade, where we integrate ventilation, solar shading, all types of functionalities inside one system, which is then also modular. So very high-end type of technology. So the conclusion, or let's say the first conclusion for me, is that all of us in the construction world, we are going to more and more complex design of buildings, but sustainability, it's really getting a more prominent place when we have to make choices in which type of applications we will take. Why is this even more important? Because what we have seen till now is that the systems are getting more and more performing, the systems are getting more and more adapted to the future needs to reduce the use stage of a building. But the second step is that we are actually looking now at upfront emissions. And what do I mean with upfront emissions? And then we have to have a look again at the life cycle of a building. We are talking about the construction process, because in a lot of cases at the moment, we are not considering the upfront emissions in the decisions for our buildings. When you are working on a project, do you really know where the materials are coming from? Do you really know if the systems, the materials you are using, are they really good? Are they not hazardous? Are they really able to be recycled? Yeah? There's a lot of lack of knowledge there. And that's where we really need to focus on as a full building industry, because in the future we will have to make choices from a sustainability perspective to know which are really the materials of the future. So to understand that, I have taken a practical example. Let's take an average office building. On an average office building in the construction stage, I'm not talking about use stage, construction stage, you have about 500 to 1,000 kilos of CO2 equivalent per square meter of office floor. It's an average. Out of this average, you can see that we can analyze all the different materials in this office building, and you can see the mix, it's quite big, and the mix can also change depending on which type of office you are talking about. But let's say on average we have about 13%, which is related to our business, the business of the windows, the doors, the facades, the sliding systems, and so on. So if we have a look at a typical window, and we look at the weight of a window, of course, it's clear that the biggest weight, it is related to the glass. The glass in a window, it's the heaviest component. But now we have to think differently. We have to start thinking in life cycle assessment. We have to start thinking in environmental impact of materials. And then you will see for an aluminium window that the impact from an environmental perspective on global warming potential on the aluminium, it's 65% for a standard average window in aluminium that we are selling in Europe. Yeah? So this has quite a big impact, the aluminium. What we also have to start thinking and reflecting about is what do we do with this window after 40 years? Yeah? And we need to consider these type of calculations also in the future, because I will come back to that. For instance, aluminium compared to PVC or wood or any other material has a very big advantage that you can recycle it infinitely without quality loss. So in the future, when we are making choices for a material on a construction, we need to make the right choices. And that's the type of exercises you will also do more and more in the future. So the big question is, where are we with the aluminium? And this is really something you need to be aware of, because depending on where the aluminium has been produced, the footprint of the aluminium can be very negative or can be very positive. Yeah? For instance, we see that still a lot of aluminium is being produced from alumina with a lot of energy in countries like China, the US, Australia, and so on, using coal, yeah, which is very polluting on an emission perspective. We also see still a lot of gases being used, mainly in the Middle East. But we also see that there is new technologies nowadays which are really focusing on renewable energy in order to make aluminium and to reduce the footprint. Yeah? So in the future, it is really important when we have debates that we understand where is our aluminium coming from. But not only the aluminium, we need to know about all materials. Are they really hazardous for the environment or not? So that's where Wicona has been a pioneer. We have really created a kind of revolution. I'm very proud about this revolution, because 4 years ago, all of a sudden, we have decided strategically to change all of the aluminium that we are using in Wicona from a standard primary alloy to an alloy which is called Reduxa, based on renewable energy, actually based on hydropower. Yeah? So 4 years ago, we really took all of the primary aluminium out, and we only started using renewable-based aluminium alloys, which meant that in the Wicona offer, we reduced our footprint on the aluminium part by almost half. But this was only the beginning, and that's really the revolution, and we are really ahead of our market, I must say. Because nowadays, in the Wicona world, we are using another alloy which is called Hydrocircal 75R. And what is this about? You already see it on the picture. It is really about taking back old aluminium windows, old aluminium doors, which already have had a full life cycle. Yeah? We are remelting everything, we are sorting it, remelting it, and we are making new windows, new doors, new sliders, new facades based on old products which already have had one full life cycle, at least one full life cycle. And that's also where we are in the aluminium business. That's also where we in the aluminium world are convinced that aluminium in the future for windows, door, facade, sliders will remain a material of the future, because we know that there is a huge amount of aluminium still available. We know that recycling of aluminium, it's really very interesting from an energy perspective. You only need 5% of that compared to primary aluminium. And we also know that we can really, altogether in the construction world, go to very high recycling rates. Because, you know, if you are looking at beverage cans, for instance, in some countries we are talking more than 90% is recycled. In the car industry, we also see huge recycling rates. We are convinced in the construction world we will go to very high recycling rates. Yeah? What is also important to understand is the difference between post and process scrap, which is what we use. We are actually using post-consumer scrap, which means that really we are using windows that have already been used in our products. We are not talking about process scrap. Process scrap is something you get automatically from the extrusion process. We are really taking back old windows, old doors, old sliders, and recycling them to what we are currently selling. So quite an interesting process, which we have in-house in the Hydro facilities. We are now making this type of recycling in several plants across Europe, and also now we moved into the US. We are quite a specialist within the Hydro Group on everything which is about alloys, so we know and we have been doing thorough testing on the alloys that if we recycle in our processes, we can give you the same quality as a primer alloy. There is no degradation of quality. That's very important to understand. Simply because aluminium, it's a beautiful material, you can recycle it 100 times without any quality loss. Yeah? And this we know to do quite good in our facilities. So what does this bring us? And this is probably one of the most important slides for my presentation. With the current offer of Wicona, we are offering CIRCAL alloys, which means we have a footprint of 2.3 kilos of CO2 equivalent for 1 kilogram of aluminium, where on average in Europe we are still at 8.6. Yeah, so that's quite a big revolution, and that's unique in the offer, and we are very proud about that. So in the last years, when we started implementing the CIRCAL alloy, I think now we already covered more than 300 projects worldwide. We went one step further. We also decided everything which we have in our warehouses is now offered in CIRCAL alloys. So this means if you have any window, it can be one bar, it can be one window, it can be one project, all of these materials are produced using CIRCAL. Yeah? So this means that at this moment, if you are working with a Wicona product, you know from an environmental product perspective, from a global warming perspective, you are really using the most sustainable aluminium solution currently available in the market. Yeah? So, what is the second topic? It's actually not only aluminium. If you look at this cross-section of one of our window systems, you see that the elements of synthetic materials is also very important. You know, because we are continuously increasing our thermal performances, our systems are getting bigger, the synthetic part is getting bigger, and also there we have really made a revolution because we started using recycled polyamides. We are taking back scrap from the car industry, we are recycling that, we are then using it in our future windows. So not only the aluminium is giving us a lower footprint, also the synthetic components are giving us a lower footprint. And then we have to go a step further, because this is something new. This is the new Wictech 60 NG facade. What we have done, quite revolutionary, we have looked at the full facade, and we are now looking at all components in a facade: aluminium, synthetic materials, corner cleats based on Zamac, screws based on stainless steel, and so on. And all of these components, we have been transferring them using recycled content. Yeah? At this moment, this facade is based on 75% recycled content. We are using CIRCAL old windows for the aluminium. We are using XPET, which are the plastic bottles for the thermal insulations. Yeah? We are really trying to move everything to recycled content. We are not waiting 40 years to recycle. No, we already use it now, which means that we now reduce the footprint. Secondly, in our new design phase, we are making systems within 40 years that should be able to be recycled by 100%. At the moment, we don't yet have this because certain technologies don't yet exist, but for this facade, 95%, when the facade will be taken out in 30, 40 years, can be recycled. That's quite revolutionary. And this we will do not only for the facades, but we are already working on the windows, the doors, the sliders, and so on. Good. In order to make everything quantifiable, measurable, we also have been working very hard on our Wictop software. And in the Wictop software, nowadays, we are able to generate EPD documents. And for some of you, EPDs, environmental product declarations, it's something new, but this will be something you will be asked for more and more in the future. What we do with an EPD, we are actually showing what is the footprint, what is the environmental impact of a certain product by analyzing the full life cycle of this product. Yeah? So which means that in the future, if you are talking about the building, certain choices will have to be made between materials, and we will have to make these choices based on facts. because you will need to monitor, you will need to show what is the reality of the footprint of a certain material in order to make the right choices. So we are quite future-proof, so it's done with an independent institute. Everything is checked, and we can now show you what are the effects of our materials in our projects. And this, of course, gives you quite interesting comparisons, because, for instance, here we have a slide comparing what we call the old unitized facades, which are on the right, and then the new unitized facades, which are on the left. Purely from a material perspective, the system on the right has quite a lot of material. The new systems in the Victec EL Evo use less material per square meter to do the same thing. So we are using less materials to do the same efficiency of a facade. But secondly, we are changing from primary materials into recycled aluminium or recycled PET or other recycled materials, which means that we are reducing the footprint of our systems on the material and on the footprint. Yeah? So you can see in a very simple explanation, if we have a primary facade made somewhere in Asia, for instance, based on coal, for instance, compared to one which is made based on recycled content, we are reducing the footprint of a facade by a factor of 10. That's really huge. Yeah? And that's the type of exercises we will have to do more and more altogether. So there's a lot of greenwashing ongoing. What we try to do is we try to use independent audits, we try to use independent certification to prove what we are saying, that it's really not something we do like a greenwashing, but it's really facts. So we have a lot of official documents to back that up. We are working a lot on certification also for cradle to cradle. Why? Because we also need to help supporting green building rating schemes. Yeah? We are also part of ASI sourcing. What does this mean? Probably you know FSC wood, which is the wood alternative. We want to be certain that the aluminium that we are getting into our system, it's being produced in a corporate social way, in a governance way, with respect for people and wildlife and so on. So that's what we do with ASI certification. So quite a complete picture. And that's actually what I wanted to talk about, the first pillar, which is the products. Yeah? So we talked about a lot of topics. So I will quickly, I hope I'm not running out of time, go to the next pillar. Because what I have been talking about this morning till now, it's really what we are bringing to our products, what we are bringing to you as a product, what we are bringing to the construction world from a product. And I have been talking about performance levels. I have been talking about use stage performance increases. I've been talking about let's say, the first phases, the material choice. Yeah? All of this is bringing a benefit on the product. But secondly, and that's the new dimension that we need to talk about, we also need to think about how we as a company, as Hydro, as Wicona, how we can reduce our footprint also. Simply because everything that we can do as a company to reduce the footprint indirectly or directly has an impact on the footprint of the product. Yeah? And that's another challenge. Because also there we need to think differently on how we operate our daily businesses. Yeah? So there's a lot of elements here in the company pillar. Let's maybe go to some of them. The first one, where it all starts, when you talk about company, from my perspective, it's about safety. Yeah? When you are operating a company, you need to do this in a safe environment. You need to be certain that the people in your company, when they leave in the evening, that they can leave back in a safe way, and of course physically in a safe way, but it's also mentally in a safe way. People need to be motivated, they need to be positive, they need to have a drive to move forward. We should not have situations in a company where human rights are not respected, where diversity is not respected. I think you all know, if you look in your own companies in the construction world, we don't really have a good balance in gender equality. So one of the drivers we have in our company is also to get the gender equality to a more normal level, let's put it that way. We also talk about inclusion and belonging, so people should be respected, whatever their orientation is, whatever they have as a personal lifestyle, we need to respect each other in order to have this positive drive within the company. Yeah? But what we then also have to do, and then we come again to the measuring and to the quantifiable stuff, is really to think about our production processes, about how we run the company, how we can reduce the footprint of the company. Yeah? So in the last years, what we started to do is to start measuring. And of course, Wicona, it's quite a big group. We are part of Hydro, which is even a bigger group. We are starting to measure everything, which means that in our coating lines, in our anodizing lines, in our thermal brake lines, in our transport area, everywhere we start to measure things. And then we start to compare to see, okay, where do we have the best practices? How are the colleagues in Spain doing? How are the colleagues in Germany doing, or in Sweden? We try to use the best practices in our company and learn from each other in order to reduce the footprint everywhere. That's number one. Secondly, within our group, we have a commitment to move to renewable energy, yeah? Which means that currently the contracts that we have on electricity, on gas, on all these type of fuels, we are trying to see what we can do to move to renewables. We are investing in solar panels, we are investing in windmills, even in our plants in Sweden, that's what we are currently doing, moving everything to renewables, yeah? But the first challenge is to reduce, and then also parallel to go to renewables. We are also going to zero landfill. We want to go to zero waste. We want to go to packaging, which is environmental friendly. We want to go to packaging, which can be recycled, which can be reused, which means that also in our relationship with you as a customer, in the future, we will talk to each other and we will try to see what can we do to recycle packing materials. How can we take back packing materials, yeah? To reduce our mutual footprint. We are also looking at transportation, new technologies. We are looking at all types of efficiency flows where we can really reduce our footprint. And I think probably the first step in any company is to have an internal awareness. So if you talk to people internally, do some breakout sessions, use the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, you learn a lot of quick wins. You can do very simple things in your company to reduce the footprint of your company. Yeah? It's all about the mentality of the people. That's the first step. I must say also what helped, at least this is one of the benefits of COVID, we also started changing our way that we commute, the way that we are doing business trips, because nowadays we are doing a lot more on, online, without physical meeting and traveling and so on. Yeah? So this has helped. But then you also have to think about, for instance, how in the future will we manage data servers? Data servers, they take a lot of energy, they take a lot of capacity, have a negative impact, but how do we manage data in the future? Because what's the point in having a BIM file if the BIM file is in 20 laptops? How can we move to, let's say, integrated data sources? Yeah? So, challenging times, moving ahead. So I talked about the second pillar, about the company, and there's a lot more I can talk about, but the third pillar, last pillar, is society, and that's again where I want to end. We, as a company, can only be successful if we are operating in a society which is also successful. Yeah? And that's where a company cannot isolate itself. A company needs to be part of the society. And that's actually where we are working with our suppliers very intensively. We are making code of conduct agreements. We are making agreements on material sourcing with them. We need to know if we buy something from our supplier, where is the material coming? Is it made in an environmental healthy situation, in a corporate social responsible way? We need to be certain. We cannot take a risk on that. Second pillar, and then I'm looking at the audience, it's all about also you. Because we as Wicona, we can have a very solid strategy, and I must say I think we are quite well on the road there, But if the market is not embracing it, if the market is not supporting it, it will not happen. Yeah? So we need to be doing this all together. And as a construction sector, we have a challenge. Yeah? Third pillar, when you talk about society, it's about everything around us, and that's also where we are now more and more involved in local, but also international NGOs, non-governmental organizations. For instance, this is one of them which we are working together with, WeBuilding. It's actually an organization supporting education in countries where education is really not available. Yeah? Education is crucial. You know it, if you have had a proper education, you are stronger for the future. So that's also where we as a group are really investing quite a lot of resources. Yeah? Good. To conclude, I have talked about a lot of facets: aluminium, components, carbon footprint. Please don't forget about the full life cycle of a building. That's very important in the future. We are working on reducing our footprint as a company. We are working on labeling, certification. All of this also gives a positive effect on the green building rating schemes. So I hope I have been able to convince you that we in the Wicona world, we are really ahead of the market trying to make a difference, but it cannot work without you. So I invite you very warmly to join our journey and really to build the cities of the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Joris, for your nice overview of sustainability and to show us how the Hydro is trying to approach and invest in technology and innovation to help all of us to build greener, a better world. I think so. Now we need to start to learn from the practice. Yeah? Company Reflex is one of the company who has extremely lot of experience locally and on international business, and to be honest, I'm always surprised when I look how much reference they have. One of the last reference is the project The Plus, which is built on the highest environmental standard and greener building in last period. So in that the Plus project, we implement, together with Reflex, more than 23 tons of HydroCircal. And I'm really proud that today with us is Ms. Breda Kotar, who will tell us the bad things and maybe the difficulties who have it during this nice journey. And we are looking forward to your presentation, Ms. Breda. Please take your stage.
Hello to everyone. Joris, it was really this story so passionate. I am so long in this business and always happy to see people which are really doing the job with full passion, with the heart and let's say full emotion, because this will really change the world. Thank you for the presentation. Today with me is also Mr. Igor Karzhan. He is our CEO. Now he is doing another competencies, photographing. But I was thinking during your presentation, who should start this journey? We too, we are running now each day the building side, because so many things are going on, and you are thinking how you should start this journey to change the company, how to do it. It is really one big challenge. So we were really proud to start this project in Norway. That's why we address this presentation, sustainable supply chain, because like it was said, it is really complete supply chain, which need to understand the business of future, how the things should be and will be changed. This is how I would like to structure my presentation. It's about few words about Reflex, then what is the glass facade, sustainability references, and case study, the plus. This is the production from Reflex company. Here we are at home in Slovenia. The company is more than 40 years operating on the market in glass industry. I would say we are the pioneers in this segment in glass industry. So, and our idea is to make this glass, which is more and more smarter glass, to make this really excellent quality, to meet all the standards, and to develop ourselves, the company, in the complete supply chain in it. We believe that we can really give, as a company, excellent advice and expertise on the glass, how to use it and how to do it. What is our vision? Out of this, we are starting all other things. It is create well-being in glass facade buildings and accelerate the innovation in glass industry. Why well-being? Because if somebody remember how much we talked in the future about the passive buildings, passive way of construction, and the transparent part of the buildings becoming smaller and smaller, and we are now in the process that everybody would like to have complete wall made from the glass. Everybody is interested, especially architects. Some of them are here today with us. So the wishes of architects is to be more and more transparent, outside and inside, to be without any boundaries. So this is our challenge, how to people to feel inside of such a building, not too cold, not too hot, not to to have really well-being in this. And at the same time, this is then pushing the, our innovation in the technology, in the people experience, people knowledge, and other things. So we believe that this culture, which was developed inside of the, is still, this is never-ending story. I would say the culture of the company is transforming due to several reasons. And the quality is one in which we really believe that it is important, and the partnership, because these two things are really very well connected. And in case these targets, also UN and Agenda 2030, European Agenda 2030, will be much more possible if the people we understand will understand this better. How is and what is the partnership? The strategy is to be really first choice in this complex, transparent glass building, and to have the competent and empowered employees, and complete solution and services that everybody which will think about the glass facade first will think about the company Reflex. This is the strategy. So K Financial only that you have a feeling that we are really small company, not so like Vicona, but we are on the way to be bigger. So this year we will achieve more than 32 million turnover, and we are going further in the way of internationalization. We are more than 50 now, and what we really believe that this energy efficient potential is one of assets which the company is having, because we are using more and more triple glass. We need to do this education together with the installer, with the architects, with the builder, that we will go this way. And Reflex developed the product, which is 5-layer called QR, and is having U value of 0.2 watt per key square meter. The company skills: insulated glass 2, 3, 4 and more. This is innovation. We have also patent here on this 4 and more glass. Tempering, laminating, printing, drilling, reading, technical support and expertise. 60% is glass fabrication, 35% is metal fabrication, and 5% it is the home appliances. This front you have at each home probably is this part of glass coming most probably from when you are buying Hisense, it's from Reflex. These are the location. We have also office here in Croatia, in Zagreb. Then the certification, among others, which are here important. We achieved their certification in USA, for the isolated double glass. In USA are not, still not using so much triple glasses, and IP, the environmental product declaration, is also the certificates which was necessary for our international work. Our customers, these are some of them, but I'm very happy to have here also some customers. This is IGM from Slovenia and Almond from Zadar. I'd say I will try to explain you how we understand the sustainability for our further growth. Like it was mentioned, these are 3 pillars. It is environmental, it is social and economical part of, or 3 pillars of activities which we are doing, which all of them are leading to the financial performance. For those which are not so much in this business, I would say I prepared some criteria which are measurement on some particular pillar. Let's say economical is new job in local environment, and then is sustainable suppliers, business development, new local companies. Then you have in social sustainability projects, highly and nicely working condition, accident at work, safety we said before as well, and then we have also others. So this is the way how we can do. Who should be the sustainability stakeholders? This is also the supply chain stakeholders. This can start from everyone. In our case, the project The Plus, it was started by architects. His request was so high, it was really high challenges for the complete company, that we need to transform really a lot of processes to achieve the target which was done. So I am using the same UN 70 goals. In our company, we are discussing very often how we can, when we should start. We started with our employees. We gave them, after Mr. Karjan started 5 years ago this position, and his first idea was always employees first. Give them good condition. When you are processing the glass, it's really hot inside, né? and he said we will do the ventilation. It was so heavy money at that time. Company was not so, let's say, stable, but even though we invested in this, and this was paid back, the good working condition. Then probably that I will not spend too much time, but we are doing this as exercise, these 17 goals, which implemented the United Nations already 2015 and should be achieved in 2030. And Europe is calling this EU Agenda 2030. When you are applying for the European funds, you should refer to those goals. What we see still to be improved, we have also our goals, how should be this improved. It is waste, which we are having in glass. You see from your presentation, I remember 20% of the CO2 is coming from glass in the building. So we have really here very good challenge. We implemented already photovoltaic on the our roof, so we would like to be more independent concerning the energy consumption and other. I put the goal and this exercise I am doing for myself, coming back from our building sites. Then I said, okay, then I need something to breathe out. And this is one exercise for me. I like it very much. I recommend you also, because this is, we are very often telling we care. Ne? Okay, good, nice, beautiful. But how is the next question. So that's why I believe this is so important that many companies are doing this direction out of comfort zone, because the change is not the comfort zone. Always the change, you need to do something. Who can move you out of the comfort zone? One problem, or architect, or boss, or good strategy, or I don't know. Many such criteria and many such factors. And then immediately after you will go out of the comfort zone, you will no more use the excuses. It's difficult. It's not difficult. Doesn't matter. Everything matters if you go out of the comfort zone. You will be in the process of progress. You will be really involved in your people. When the people see your strategy, that you care and that you do and that you perform, they will follow you. We are doing I put also this in sustainability, that we have satisfaction survey. We were so surprised that our scores went so excellently, because all the time the people are claiming about something. But our score was really good because of the measurements we did on the very good and healthy working condition. So this is the progress. And, then you have more place for the partnership. You have more place to listen to each other. You have more place for freedom, and your freedom is unlimited unless it is freedom of others not damaged or coming to the same border. And this is, I believe, you should use all the time brain, but with the heart. Brain, heart. The great example is Luka Doncic, I would say, for this picture. He is playing all the time. It's difficult for him to play 40 minutes? No, because he is having this balance all the time. Excellent expertise and good heart. And together, together, and the Bono is one example which teaches us how each person in the company should have his own role. Okay. And this is the transformation. You start to fly. And this is the project which we did. This is Hotel Intercontinental in Ljubljana. Used several, this is in Split, unitized facade. This is the highest building, I believe, on Balkan. This is one project in Oslo, in Norway. And this is airport in Ljubljana, one library in Norway. Here we use the glass which is having G value 0.29. It's 5 layer. It's really fantastic product. I would like really to escape of making the marketing, but I could not for this product. Another one. UK is also one of the markets which we came in or on in last 2 years. Very proud on this, but in Europe we can build, I would say, only this comment, more not. And this is our case study, Vestrene. The project is in Norway. And the architect is big architects. There are among first 3 in the world. First is Mr. Norman Foster, I would say, office. The second one, Zaha Hadid. You will probably disagree or not, I don't know. Yeah, okay. And the third one are the big architects. And when they sent us this picture, we said, okay, this space shuttle building we will not do or performs with them. So then we started slowly to discuss what are the challenges, what are the project's requirements, what the architects would like to achieve. This is first one, it was BREEAM certificate. Then to use recycled aluminum. The Hydro then I add because after we studied so many aluminum producers after we decide for this. Then use CV. W should be less or equal 0.7 watt. Static calculation because the elements height were more 6 and 6.2. And then the rounded glass in the atrium where the circle was 8 meters. Then full transparent envelope. This was really full transparent envelope. We asked them to put something additional because with glass and this you can then balance the U value. Then also these doors, but door was request that we will put complete one wall in one door glass. It is 42 meters one piece, 7 by 6. We were really crazy about the how to find the solution. And then the installation. We said, okay, everything is possible on the paper, we will do it, but how we will do this to install and to transport and complete supply chain, it was here really, they put us, the architects put us on the edge of our knowledge, of our expertise, of our, what we believe that we are able to do. This is industrial glass doors again. And then we use, we recommend them to use this Cubicer element. This is 0.29 watt element for complete building, but he said, I can use it, but I do not have money because I will run out of the budget. And we start again. One part was this Cubicer element and others were, then it was very important that the architect doesn't want to have these joints to be visible. So we made everything structural, inside and outside. And the glass corners, he would like to have the glass corners transparent as well. So then the challenge was how to anchor this into the wood construction, because the top of the building is made from wood construction. You will see then later on from the picture. And the last sweet challenge, it was everything to be finished with the development, workshop design, installation, transportation, everything to be done in 7 months. So first thing first, the system. Our engineers studied really, they did benchmark about what is possible, how it's possible, and then we solved one problem. It was the height and the statical calculation. But architects gave another challenge. He would like to have maximum inside space. So some solutions were automatically illuminated. This process took us 2 months to do this exercise. And then we asked Vicona, and it was so interesting story about these stakeholders. Architect is from Norway, investor is from Norway, we are from Slovenia, Vicona is from Norway and other places, and we came to this challenge. We then address Vicona, and they bring us the solution from Norway. Interesting story, the building is located, the Plus building is from Vicona, headquarters is the same district, is the same district, Kongsvik, near to Oslo. So, and then we choose together with the colleagues from Croatia. We did the statical calculation, all others parameters. It was nice journey to exchange this, and the time was all the time pressing us. And it was chosen the product Hydro 75. 75 is going back to the process. And so we studied this process from Vicona about the sustainability, about how to bring the process again to the material and the waste again into the process and to make excellent product. This is how we address then the anchoring in the wood, was another topic. Here are the facades, what was each glass which left the company was different one. This was challenge for the production as well. And then we put additional beams into the vertical of the building. What was still interesting, that the architects decide in this rounded building not to use any vertical supports. We need everything to bring up on the horizontal part of the circle. I have so many details here, I will not bore you with it unless some question will appear, but this was really our engineers studied for 3 months, day and night. Vicona team from Croatia really was very, very much supportive. With them we couldn't do this, but our engineer, Mr. Petar Kaučić, is really expert on to bring impossible wishes into the possible one and achievable in the production, because he is also, so here is also this sectional anchoring. So I will skip this and go to the pictures. Here you have some. So here we are. And this is these anchors. They really don't want to have any vertical profiles inside. And here is the this rounded glass. This was special task to bring, to install, and to put everything together. And you see that the building is inside of the forest. I believe this is one of the nicest buildings I ever saw. In the nature, after you come really on the 20 meters or 10 meters, you can only see this is a building, because the building and the forest itself is the same unit, let's say. And the question is, what is inside? Inside is the production of furniture. On the 7,000 square meter, and on the top they have photovoltaic. Building achieve really BREEAM excellency, and they are awarded in London for the architecture award. As well, another building. We have two buildings in this competition. One is this in Croatia, and another one is that one from the big architects. So, and they invite, this is also so sustainable story. They invite the people, they could come here during they are working and operating. The people can go here, walk there. You see there is a toboggan. Yeah, they have also for the kids. It's really, society is coming into the company. Company is giving them and back. And this is, in fact, they are doing this in real. I was totally surprised in this concept and the story. This is the products they are doing. Each such bank, it is approximately 20,000 euro. It's like a car. Each piece, it's a masterpiece, I would say. This is, we are asking ourselves, we are doing so much work with our profiles, and everybody is asking us, how is the square meter price? How is the kilo price? You see, it's really fantastic, It's not affecting the environment and wood, and many other companies will be here afterwards because the community is really friendly to this. This is the investor, interesting story, another one. The investor is, after we were in the middle of the building, somebody phoned us and said, the investor will become the Minister for Industry and Trade in the Norwegian government. So he is really now promoting the sustainability story further. And this is the architect. Everything starts and finishes with the architects. But we producer are the only one which can do the wishes happen. So I will finish with this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Breda, for this nice presentation. We see about the company, how you're developing the company, how you take approach in the sustainability, how you have a challenge, and congratulations for this really nice project. So now I need to just say a few words about the Trial HD. When I think what should I say, I was in doubt because this is really famous architecture studio with quite a lot of references. And then I think maybe it's better to say it simple. Trial HD studio always take a challenge. Simple and standard is really not an option. Answer no is also not the option. So they have a really clear vision how to do it, and they are really moving forward to create a really new future. They have a really great, enthusiastic young team. They always combine urban and landscape and design and art. So very warm welcome to Sasha Begovic and Zoran Suša. So stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. And thank you, Vikona Rajka, for the invitation. Zoran and I, we're going to talk about, well, we have some kind of small intro, which is actually meeting also, I mean, whole lecture is meeting the main idea of this conference. And what is, we are going to show on the end kind of one or two case studies of what we are going to say. But first, we are going to, is it? Okay, about the office. Office was founded 28 years ago. We were still young here. After we introduced another partner, Paula, well, 6 years ago. What is important now, office is grown through this 28 years. We have a lot of projects. I'm going to talk a little bit also about our new studio that we moved in 2 years ago, three years ago, which is also part of the agenda of sustainability, we would say, because it is a reuse of the old building. What is important also to say, during these 28 years, we did a lot of projects, over 300, I would say 50, all over, mainly in Croatia, but some of them also abroad. What is important also to say is that all the projects are, well, different typologies. We did everything, actually, in any typology. Nuclear power plant, as Zoran said, and I think churches, yes, we didn't do church. What is also interesting, we did a lot of last 15 or 18 years. We had a lot of projects. We had a lot of projects in hospitality, which is kind of everybody says it's logical because you are from Croatia. Croatia is a tourist country. Those projects were different. We are developing, Ranka already mentions, we are kind of integrative office, iterative office because we are involve a lot of people. We are collaborative office. The people are developing through our knowledge to knowledge which is based from projects which are a different kind, as I already said. And what is also important, our knowledge, we are gaining knowledge through working, to building, to designing the ideas. Those are some projects. I'm not going to go into them, but just for you to see some of them. This one, for example, is prefabricated. The bridge is interesting. It's one of our first internationally acclaimed project, which was done with the aluminium. I forgot to say. I said I will say it. I will turn back. Those planks, aluminium planks, were designed it was 1999 to 2000, so 23 years ago. We researched for the material, we find the Sapa profile, which was interesting. Then I forget that, I said it. So, so different size, different positions. Because we are in Split, I have to mention also Riva. This was a very interesting project, public project. Split's living room, which was done, well, now 15 years ago, which we redesigned actually whole elements and facilities there with the landscape, urban design, lighting, and so on. We also did in Split part of this complex of Spaladium Center. We did the Spaladium Arena, which was done for the World Championship in handball. I mean, those years were interesting because there was so much of the hotel industry or hospitality. We did a lot of public projects. We did a lot of free, big, well, from small to big sports hall, or I would call this civic hall, because most of the project is sports hall, but also it is community center for that. This was our actually first project. Maybe it's a prophecy, but we did a hotel as a first and then come back 50 or 10 years later. Hotel Lone was the project which actually moved us to the hospitality. It was the first project of that kind. It was part of the Design Hotel. It's not a brand, it's a chain, now part of the Wyndham. And it's in a beautiful city of Rovinj, of course, and we have to praise our client, which we are together since this area. It's in this period of almost 15 years, because they believe in us, and this was actually for us very important project. This project led us to some other projects. We are. When I see the year 2013, it's always a long term for the architecture. This was a project that we won the competition in Zurich, which is very interesting. We are part of the team with Miley Peter Architekten, but also led us to do the project in China. A client in China approached us and said, "We want Lone." So we said, okay, we'll do clone or clone. It's a double size. It's different. It's not 3 wings, it's 4 wings and so on. But it's amazing because this was fantastic experience in the South China, Guangzhou. And it's double size, double size than Lone, of course different in some areas. And what is interesting, it's an estuary of the Pearl River, which is the largest area of development in the world, 70 million people and 70% of electro industry and so on. This is in the, maybe this is too much light because I'm looking to the, yes, please. Because this is a national park and those areas. After that, we did a lot of projects, and we are doing a lot of projects in the hotel industry. One is, some of them are waiting to be started on some important places, Croatian places. Some are started to be built last year or 2 years ago, and so on and so on. I'll a little bit hurry up. This is the latest one, which we are doing in Pula. I will now just show a few projects which I think is important for the case of sustainability. We can call it green. I really not hate, but sometimes wondering about this green, because when people are pushing something on facade just like that, well, it's maybe sometimes it's not sustainable. It's a lot of time expensive, spending water and some other things. So when we include green in the concept of the design, like this freshwater aquarium and museum of rivers in Karlovac, we did a project, a concept as a hill with cut in this area, which is full. Karlovac is a city of the dikes and yes and nasip, yeah, dike. Okay. Okay. And this is an interesting project because it needs to be, well, sustainable. It was funded by EU, but very limited budget. But we, I think, achieved a lot of important things, and main of them is that house is completely green in a way that the roof is green. It's half sunken into the ground, and we recreate a scenario of rivers, because Croatia is famous with the rivers and fresh water. And that was interesting because river aquariums are really different than the sea aquarium. Okay, the other projects, which is not still finished, but it's a kind of a finish, is a cantina of Forestry and Agricultural University in Zagreb, which is interesting because we cut around the trees and made in the competition which we won was a project which can achieve 3 floors, but we put it in just 1. We just cut an area around the trees, elevated, and the cantina is completely continuation, which is very primitive glass, not at all like Biggs, and the stiffness was done very primitive. It was also interesting, but what we wanted to achieve is this clearness, a light. Something's going, which is this reflection, of course. This we call vegetal leaf, or how do you call it? A canopy, yeah, because the green is going to make a shade for the building, and this is appearance from above, from the drone. So you can see these atriums which we built around the trees. We cut the building around just to preserve. This is I forgot to say, this is the edge of the Maksimir Park, which is probably the most beautiful park, biggest and beautiful park in Zagreb. And the roof should be, I don't know what's happening. And the roof should be not only green, but also we did. I'm also teaching on the university with the students a pair of completely wooden modular pavilions, which was actually apartments for the professors, for the guest professors, and we actually. Provide the installation and the foundation, which will actually be just bring to the site this wooden pavilion. For example, we experiment with the cast form for the concrete to achieve the acoustic, which is not enough, of course, but we achieved really much. As I said, also those projects as a public projects are pretty limited budget. Okay, the other project which we finished recently is also in the city of Rovinj, which I mentioned, and it's a part of those hotels. It's a hotel park, which is actually very simple in a concept. It's a terrace park. It's leaning on the beautiful forest, 100 years old pine tree. Not only forest, it's a huge park. The trees were planted 100 years ago. And it's something which is actually was a part of this former hotel, was neglected and in a little bit bad shape. So we did this. We call it tribune to the view. So every room has its own terrace and Mediterranean garden. 10,000 square meters of the Mediterranean garden. We preserve those trees, and everything what you look is this beautiful city of Rovinj and Katarina Island. So this is the yeah, and actually every room actually not only that has green, some of them has these pools, private pools, which is important for the image.
Just one note here. About size of the glass. We have like 15 times 3.8 one glass panel on an event hall. So
it was built. I think
it was made by Sedak. Yes.
Yeah, from Sedak. Yes.
Yeah.
Germany. And what is also one of the biggest projects that we are doing for now almost 3 years is Rimac Technology Park, which is really big projects now. It's in 3/4 of this huge hall, production hall is in a way. It was an international competition. Rimac is expanding company, one of the biggest company of this size of the area. It is a part of the area, and that's why it's not good it's an old castle, and we build it with the view, with a cutting view through this. We sunken the building, which is connecting building in. Yes, thank you. With the connection building between the factory building, headquarters, restaurant, artificial lake. We have modular houses, wooden houses, kindergarten, and so on, and one racetrack built by the F1 standards, which is another story. Of course, I'm not going to talk about this project, which could take a long time just to talk about this. This project is fully, try to be fully sustainable with every possible energy values added to its core. I'm finishing this part with our space, as I said it. I think that's the most sustainable thing is not to build, which is, of course, kind of strange to say from the architect, but not to build in a way that we should use the existing building. Reuse is some things, an area which we are also doing so much. I'm also teaching that in school. We did this space. We bought it 4 years ago, and it was a former cinema. It is in the middle of the Zagreb, and it's in the block. It's in the urban block. And what is also interesting that Zagreb had this is a building from 1939. So it's very important to say that, because in this area, when the film as a media and art came to be, it became to be very important. And it's what is also important. Zagreb had 28 or 30 cinemas like this in the blocks, in sometimes green, sometimes areas like this. And this one was neglected after, of course, Cinemaplex came into the. And this was what we found it and how we found it, and it was classical cinema, one of the biggest in Zagreb. What we found was pretty fantastic. It's longitudinal concrete ribs, which was one of the first concrete which was done. Of course, these arches and every ceiling in the building was done on that way. So which was kind of interesting for us. We considered it, of course, either to demolish, but then when we see the potential, only thing that we needed to do was to provide light into it. We cut some elements, we preserve a lot of it, we stiffen a lot of course, elements, and those two pictures are actually existing place, which we did it, then the project and the execution. There is an interesting foyer, I would call it, in the middle of these 3 volumes, which we use as a important public space. What we did in the longitudinal section is that we just increased the balcony and provided 2 spaces. One is the studio space, and the other one is a meeting space. They are very high, ceiling 4 and 5.5 meters. This is this intermediate space of the foyer. These 2 floors are extra offices, and this is a cafe, snack bar and cafe, which is also part of our project. This is just the photos we cut. Of course, we did with Transsolar, German company, studies of the light, because as you know, cinemas don't have lights, so we provided some lighting from above, we provided lighting from 2 sides, and this is the images. As I said, this is the multifunctional space in the middle of the house, which we are using as a meeting space and so on. And this is the latest photo of the office. Just addition to, because before we show the projects, these 2 case studies is something which is, we think, also really sustainable, which is digital platform. Let me call you Volume. It's not Volume 3, it's Volume.
But everybody's naming it Volume 3.
Volume 3. And Zoran will talk a little bit more, but what is important, it's something which we are doing for, I would say, 18 years now, and developing from the, we would like to call it Excel sheet to the digital platform. Zoran will talk a little bit about it.
I will be very short. But, as Mr. Joris mentioned, this is a way of reducing the environmental impact in the design process also. So we not invented, but we tried to make a platform for the data exchange, for the paperless and the digital environment work. So it was developing like 4 years, but before that we already started with the specifications and everything which can be done electronically to reduce the paperwork and printings. So it grew up a little, and then it grew up big. So it started with just exchanging drawings, but now we are preparing another modules. But obviously, what's more important is to bring up also the project management inside, to bill of quantities, and all that module which started 10 years ago for the specification of the products is now becoming a huge database for all the products of all projects we used, and even opened to the whoever wants to use it to try to make this all the process really straightforward, without complicating and without, as we always said, the best way. But when all the process started was the email. Now it's the worst, because the email is becoming a spam. we are losing the concentration and point, and searching for the data in the emails begins to be really confusing. So the platform is something that we are hoping that will first help us, but our constructor, all of our consultants to be more predictable. So,
and maybe just to add,
I'm not selling it yet, but afterwards we can talk.
No, it seems always when we are talking about this, because we develop it as we are selling, but it's also,
we already have a company inside our company, which is just research development for the.
Yeah, and what is interesting, maybe one slide before said, you always have a little different kind of accounts for Google, for this, for that. Yeah. This is everything in one place. This is something which we try to integrate, like we are doing in our business. It's developed from our need. Yes. To make better, not only paperless, but of course this is one also thing. And our bill of quantity is like this, and specifications is like that. And of course contractors don't like that because that's everything is specified and everything it's reachable. Sorry.
It's very simple because
a lot of projects which we've done lately was done like this, and the process is very important, very simple. You tag it, of course, but also everything is available. Last 3 projects, the one that I will show you also afterwards as a case study, was done with the contractors with the iPads on the building side, and we were talking through the iPads, not with a lot of plans, zooming in, zooming out, and that's of course developing. As Zoran said, we are developing other modules which will missing, of course, and this is development area. Everybody says, why don't you develop it as an application? We are saying yes, we are doing it as an application, but it's a slow process because it came from our experience. So this is some cases, I'm not, as Zoran said, we are not going to sell it, but this is something which is important part of our development as a company. This is, of course, something.
This is most important. The searchable, the tagging, all things that you can put all the attributes to one of the products. So, and when it's in a base, it's available to everybody in a project. So, of course, it started like growing when we were putting all the specification, all the products that we have on our projects inside. But now it grew more than that. Now,
so this is one process. I forgot that we have this small demo how to work it, and it's really simple. It's all in one place, one touch print, PDF, everything it's on place. We had, Marco, I forgot the numbers for the InfoBip headquarters. Yeah. Some 1,000 of plans on the platform, so everything is available, not only plans but specific.
And we used to show in a presentation of the software the comparison between the paper we made for the hotel park. Yeah. And how much space it used.
This is important from 4 sides, let's call it, or even more. But what is for us important that is not only time saving but also adapted to the user. This is the last project that we finished. It's a big company. InfoBip is IT company. I think first Croatian unicorn. Listed in the States.
The other one.
The other one.
The other one that we just showed already.
And this was done, conceptually this building is what we are doing. It's a large office building in the middle size, with atrium. It has a green facade, actually net, which is growing in front of the glazed walls, and also have we had a main public square is actually on the 3rd floor, and this is a kitchen and everything, and this is the accommodation unit.
Oh, we come to the...
Okay, we have to hurry, sorry. So we'll show you actually 2 projects, Block Bužanova, or residential block Bužanova in Zagreb, and also Park Kneževa in Zagreb. Both are in Zagreb urban fabric. I'm showing Bužanova because it's a predecessor of the or gaining knowledge from this project to the last one which we did. The client VMD is probably most conscious client, I would say, developer of the housing units in Croatia and in Zagreb, definitely. And this is the main square, Zagreb. This is second main square, and it's actually on the edge of the urban block. Zagreb is a middle European country, as you might know, and it's let's call it on the well, it's not on the edge, but one is here, and another one is in the middle of the Zagreb urban blocks. This is the Branimira Street and the railway here, and so those two projects were interesting. A part of them is, I think, 4 years or something like that. And the client wanted a corner building. We did actually 2 buildings with 1 joint. What was interesting, it's a kind of a rules, with the urban rules of 5 stories or 6 stories house that actually need to have, this one is 63 apartments, different size. And what we did actually was we were thinking with them about how to make it efficient. So we did a structural frame with the 2 cores, which Zagreb is unfortunately, not like in Norway, earthquake zone of 9. So it's really difficult, and people when people are asking why do you have so big columns and so things, so because we had an earthquake and it proved that need to be like this. So the idea was to make a structural frame with as much as possible wide windows or frames, and we developed the system of the windows, which actually contains even 3 rooms are part of this system of windows. What we did was, or to put on, was of course prefabrication. As I said, we have a low parapet, okay. Lost on English, yeah. Parapet. So 1 room, for example, has this 2-meter window. The other one has a hatch window and a fixed element, or on some places also we have a balcony. And what is important, which we developed here and use it afterwards and improve it, I would say, on the Park Kneževa, is all the elements that client wanted. That's just a second. That's of course normal window which with opening aluminum. This was actually aluminum wood. Then we have Venetian blinds. We have mosquito net, and also we introduce small air recuperation units. It's not heating, it's not air conditioning. So this is something which is very interesting. We actually improvise a little bit here with the profiles, how to get air from inside and outside. It's really efficient, small unit, simple, I would say primitive, but it helps actually, you don't need to use it air condition in so much as it needed. So we developed this system actually, not system, but we developed this window, which actually was very important, because when you do the prefabrication of the panel windows, then you have really important that speed for the building. From inside, this looks like this. So it's a picture window with this hatch. We will probably done differently now with this experience, but idea was to have this kind of picture window with that we have.
Fixed one, and the other
some
one
fixed
is open,
one,
yeah.
Some are opening. Maybe we'll do it next time this with the glass, which actually because expand. For example, Infobip we did a smaller one. So this is some from the production, yeah, I mean, maybe we could skip it because, and actually the result was this. It's just two elements. Actually, we did very few times just the plaster facade. We're always doing ventilated facade. This was also ceramic like the other projects. We actually introduced just 2 simple elements, aluminium cladding and windows and the ceramics. Okay, pretty pictures. The client has a really interesting standard, actually. Every room is a little bit bigger than in a standard building that are now built in Zagreb. Obligatory loggia. In the rooms, they have walk-in closets, at least 2 or 3 bathrooms, which is probably the highest possible standard that you can achieve in the housing industry. The other things what we actually move and persuaded client is a lobby. He lived in the States and abroad, and he understands that. And what we did, actually, the 4 lobbies, we introduced something which is those positions. We introduced something which is actually small living space with the art and rest, and this is something look like this. We introduce also, every lobby has different 4 young artists which are actually famous now. But no, they're really good. They were really good, and there was hired because of that. So this is something which is really important for the culture of course of living. And this is it. Also, you can wait for somebody, a postman, or kids can play when it's raining outside and so on. We did also the same on the other project. It's slow. Also, what we were involved with, we didn't develop all the flats in a way of the furnishing, but we, of course, we did just layout and plans. But also the hallways, actually, which was without the light, we actually quoted some modernist architects with this. To do the nicest place, even if it's so dark, so to do as much as possible, not only lighted but also with the beautiful materials. Also, graphic design is something which we tried to introduce, and we did with the clients, which was really interesting, and it's actually developed all the way. As I said, client has really sophisticated approach that he cares for everything. He was involved in everything, and just a second. And even garage is looking like this. So with the ceramic floor, with completely bright, you're not afraid to come into the always below the ground, of course. And with this graphic design. I'm going to hurry. Catalog of the flats are from 70 to 150 square meters, and some apartments are a little bigger. This was renders because we actually didn't have almost any flat that we designed it. What is also important that those flats were mainly, at least, double-sided. Yeah. Cross-ventilated. Cross-ventilated. Yes. Sorry. Which is very, of course, important. And those are some also images from that. And we're now coming to our latest project that actually is not still open, but officially, but it's finished. Maybe too much slide, I'm sorry.
Did we consume too much time?
No. Okay. Yeah, this is one of the flats which is actually more. Sorry. Yeah, green areas were important, but in next project even more important, because this is very tight urban situation. Okay, the last project that we are going to show is a residential block in the middle of the city. So as I really show you, the main square, the main public and park area of the so famous horseshoe, and actually leftover area from the former factory with very important high school from the 30s. And this was actually a situation, I would say, last 20 or even 30 years. So Zagreb blocks are something like this. This is the size of these blocks. During modernism, some blocks were either it was demolished buildings or something, were intervened with some projects which are from those times. And this was actually, with this corner, was a part of the famous industry. Penkala was the factory which was actually invented ballpoint pen, actually. And so this area was completely, I think we had, yeah. So this was the factory, as you can see, and this corner building, which was still preserved. And after the war, it was still functioning and as a textile industry, but during, I think, 90s, just collapsed. So client bought the projects, and those are few elements of design and research about the building. So when you're doing in Zagreb, the blocks are probably more like this or longitudinal. This one was big with the street, but also with something which is inner side, which is pretty big. And we studied here a few things. Client wanted 128 apartments. He wanted green. He wanted that, even if it's a private land, I mean, he bought it. He wanted open passage, or green, like a green park. And we studied vertical buildings as interpolation of the core. Then we studied a green, which was light green is a public. The darker green is semi-public or public, mostly semi-public. And this was the area. So those two elements were one of the most important. The other one was this public passage. We have it as is many countries covered from the beginning of the 20th century or some recent, but we also have a passage which are actually open, which is like a narrow street, but it's used as a public places, one which is not functioning so much. So the idea was to do the inner block with a lot of activities as much as possible, considering this concept of pedestrian area, and actually to make it as much as possible green. Green meaning introducing new plants, which is very difficult in this very narrow places, and that's what we achieved. Also, what is important, this was on two sides of the two streets, which was called by the famous Croatian knights, queen, kings, whatever, princes, that we have buildings which are actually interpolation or closing the dukes, yeah, which are interpolation, classical interpolation with different heights of closing the block, and then allowing a huge passage height of 4.3 meters, which actually going into it. You'll see a little bit later. What we study, what was important, is the measures of the urban block of Zagreb, which was actually always a case of it. So the main streets are actually only 11, 15 meters. The widest street is very near Draškovića, which is 22 meters. That was for us important because the narrowest part in our plan and design was between two, well, call it towers, but it's only nine flats, which is 22 meters, but we little bit move it apart. So this is the result, kind of. This is the buildings, corner or two street buildings, and inside with the porous volumes, 3 verticals, which is actually also a case, as I said, of the verticals that's happening during the city. And you'll see a little bit later when we are around. And sorry, yeah, and you can see here the widest streets. So this is, this is actually narrow streets, very narrow streets. So the idea of this urban park was, this is one street building, another one, and to have a passage or passage, pedestrian passage. Below is a two stories of the garage, and to have inside 3 verticals and one building which connects with the former factory. I forgot to mention, this is the factory actually, which has one wing inside. So this is the narrowest part, and the sixth element, not fifth, but sixth element is one building, something like this. So most of the ground floors are public, or cafe, hairdresser, polyclinics, and most of them are inside. And this area, not only because this is sorry, I have a, yeah, this is one of the, we have what is important, we have an approach to the garage, and on the other side, on the west side, we provided a little height difference between the pedestrian area and this west area. And as you can see, some of the elements are narrow, but some of the streets are the same size. Of course, green concept was important. So we had a zone of the terraces. We have a vertical walls, which is actually this huge wall of 12 meter high. We have small hills, which towards the neighbors here, a little bit here, just to provide, and also area with this, just to provide the possibility to plant something. You'll see a little bit later. And of course, playground for the kids. What is also interesting that the relationship between the I forgot to mention a very important thing, which I will show a little bit later. Client also wanted a kindergarten unit of 3 units, which was done. We proposed that we did it as a low object, completely prefabricated wood. So this is one of the first wooden kindergartens in the country.
And it's sustainable.
And so this is those hills and those plants. Actually, there is planted 36 new trees. You'll see the size of the trees when we come to the horticultural concept. So yeah, this is
what we lifted up the drone a few days ago, just to show that those distances and the facades. What's happening here, what we have to do is kind of a remediation of the site, of the plot. Because as you can see, the program is very large. We have like 30,000 square meters gross. We have 15,000 volume.
Sorry, 40.
Yes.
40,
yes. And below we have 2 garages, and we are consuming like 90% of the plot. Now, for the remediation, I mean, we have to bring back the green, the soil, and the ground on it. So it's the straightforward thing, or the easiest part will be to just build a pavement and put some planters and whatever. But of course, the client was quite generous, so we proposed the idea of bringing a park again back where it probably used to be before even that industry that happened. So, and the idea was that we are living in a park because we are introducing a kind of a new, old urban living inside. Because Zagreb has this tradition, but it was it was neglected, and even people were so afraid of building it because those courtyards, the inner sides started to look more like neglected, you know, out of any kind of ugly and not usable at all, and even poor. So what we did also, we tried to bring back that greenery, that soil, that park whenever we could. So what Sasha said, we had this east side, which is public pathway. That part over there is just this 10% of natural ground that we have. I mean, when the rain goes, it goes down to the center. But the rest of it is all on top of the garage. So we brought back greenery, we brought back soil, we brought back even mature trees, everything that helps us to bring up this green effect. Of course, one thing is also with the client is that everything looks like it now. It's not something that we will plant a small tree and then wait like 20 years to see what happens, because this is already grown, mature trees, mature greenery. So this is what I'm talking about. We had to compensate everything that we took out and then bring back again inside the block.
Just a second. It's all pedestrian, as I said, and on this, go back.
And you
can see here that even garbage truck and everything.
I have a green one. See? Yeah, okay.
And garbage can, movers, everything is below obligatory. So nobody can enter with a car here. Not only because it's very narrow, but because this pedestrian area with the tree porches entrance porches, but this is what I was talking about, and Zoran said, a heightening because of typology.
And that gives us an opportunity to bring up, or maybe to reinvent some new old type of typology of residential. So in the center of Zagreb. So we brought back the famous townhouse, which is the two-story apartment in a row with a garden in front. So this is, as you can see, they have their own private gardens over here. They're elevated on the east side because of the pedestrian. They 1.8 height. From this side, they have a second story with the sleeping parts, and they have a view on the green wall above the roof of these neighboring buildings. So the other type, here we have some images. Yes. This is a rendering, this is interior.
So you see, you have your own private.
You have all private garden, inside.
It's a classical semi-detached house.
Yes, yeah.
Double height.
Okay.
Like this.
Like this. Now the other type is on second and third floor. We have these roofs of those apartments below, so they have their own garden again with a green roof, because we didn't have to. We didn't want, but client accepted to sell them everything. So we bring up these patches of green on the roof.
Kind of classical plan, but with a very big terraces. So that was set immediately.
Who's the microphone?
Sorry.
So this is the view from above of these terraces, and these green roofs over there, and with the planters. We have like 500 of those planters on the facade. We'll come to that later. So this, we get this kind of, scenic neighborhood also with everything already green. And all this greenery is maintained by the owner, by the company that built it, developer. The third type is those flats from third to fourth to seventh floor, which are then oriented by the view. So this is also specific for the project. We don't have any similar apartments. We don't have any two same apartments, because each of them was designed according to the position of the loggia and the view.
And
because as you can see, the Zagreb on this side, the view is better to the north, northeast, and northwest, not on the south. So this is kind of, compromising the good old rule. You have to have the living room on the south and something. But this is the opposite. The most of living rooms are on either northwest or northeast because of the view, and that's of course what sells. But anyway, we even made a simulation of each of the floor or each of the loggia and the view and everything. It was really complicated. We made some point clouds. We complicated our lives too much over there. Yeah, okay. So this is one of them. We are getting close to the
just to mention, go back, please. Just as we did we showed last.
For the comparison.
Yeah, for the comparison. So we did the French windows, so all the way.
We said we canceled even the parapet. So let's go with.
We'll talk about the detail about the product. We also have this recuperation. We have a net, mosquito net. We have blinds. We'll talk about the windows and everything else a little bit earlier. But that was the difference between the first project and the last, and planters, which in every in every flat, at least in the living room and in master bedroom.
Yes, there was only one principle. If there's a single window like this one, we won't put, because of the light. Because again, you have the same rule about the amount of light that you have to push in apartments. Like there's another one. The same platform. This is like seventh floor. This is seventh floor.
But this was shift. No, six. That's it. Yeah. This was shift of the verticals, so you have a view towards the mountain, towards the.
That's why we pushed the buildings also. And the penthouse is penthouse. Okay, it consumes all the floor. It has the best view on all sides. We didn't have to decide where to put the loggia. This was more like talking with the client and the future owner.
And you are entering in the apartment through the
but we put a lot of then planters in that apartment. So that was the rendering. Again, yes. You see, that's the view. Now, what we have this kind of a section or a view elevation of all types of windows that we have. But don't forget, we also to mention this is the one of the important element of it all. This is a view from the loggia. Another one. Okay. Yes. We also have a playground for the children. In between, we couldn't put grass quite here because it will turn to mud. So we are, and also you must have this impact.
It's a rubber first surface.
You know, stress. Yeah. And also, yeah, it's very happy. But as you can see, these are already mature trees brought up here.
Which is amazing.
And this is during the construction. I mean, before the opening. So this is not the constructors.
Yeah. When you are planning green, you never imagine that the client will bring you a little bit. We'll see a little bit later.
No, we can't.
We'll see a little bit later. Not only mature but huge trees.
Huge trees.
Because you'll see a little bit later. But it was important
also
because
it makes a great logistic efforts and the group on the facade. Now we come to the facade at last. This is from the competition of actually. This is what we were drawing from the competition before we even got the first prize and get involved in the project. So we already provided this provisions, these planters and French openings. And it's the good thing is in architecture when you're coming back to the original drawing that you just satisfied. So okay, I wasn't wrong then because it definitely functions even now. Now this is one of the sections, this compilation of the sections of the window. So you see this is characteristic details. This is a loggia, this is Sapa, and this is a Vicona window. Not here, but on this way because this is loggia, so you cannot have window here. And the planter, all the things that we have to do, produce the water and even to drain water and collect it, and because we're bringing up some of this sustainability here. Yeah, we're collecting this water and bringing it back to the.
And I have to go back next, and I really have to praise here present.
No, we'll come to his drawing.
Okay.
This is a great support we had from Mario, our colleague, our friend, because we was really,
and him and Ranko was supporting him from the beginning, and we were going back and forth, and he always found a solution, whatever we came for, or maybe even more client, isn't it?
And then because it's very hard client, because he's also like thinking and thinking. Present, he's constantly calling. How are we going to solve the blackout situation? For instance,
which is impossible when you have plants.
So we had to put a little, piece over here to but then where are we going to put the railing and everything? How are we going to put this and this and this? And so everything
and the
functions. And of course, where our air is going to go inside, and how are we going to pass the blower test and everything. So it was really helpful, and we're looking forward for more.
For the next.
Yes. Next time we may be smarter and use maybe this small windows. Okay. Of course, we have 910 windows. I mean, windows is the one part, which is maybe this big or this big.
Just sorry. We always, of course, doing a standardization. So we have one French window, the double one. We
kind of coming to that element.
Of course, to make it as less as possible, of course. But the idea was to develop this window, which was
going through this quickly to the energy concept. We used the central toplana for the heating, for the for central plants prepared. Hot water coming to here. We have this ITP station, which heat exchanger with the media. So we have floor heating and air conditioning together with that ventilation. So this is a level that we are expecting here for when we were working with this client, but he's also putting this.
But he improved it, as you remember.
Pushing the level up for the quality of living, especially in Zagreb, because sadly, the Zagreb is one of the most polluted city lastly, so it's recuperating and this thing. So again, we are coming back to the those trees and everything that we grew. We had this data, how much one tree saves your lifetime or whatever, how much it consumes, and processing the. You see, this is all the landscape concept was precisely done. We had a beautiful and very collaboration with our consultant for the landscape. So you see, we have these numbers here, and also 44 trees.
Yes, sorry.
44 trees.
34, yeah.
44 trees, climbers, sedums. You see how many of pieces of all plants and shrubs and everything, and all is water irrigated. We even found we have a water. Well, we have a well over here, because they were digging, we were doing the pit protection. Then we of course found water downside, so we are recycling also the water. This is very interesting detail, how we gained these humps on roof of the garage. We brought back soil, but we had to take care of the stress. So we brought little pieces of XPS just to level it, and then
so
it was very.
It's not all soil,
this is what it looks like,
because of the weight, you know. So
this is planting trees, the big one.
So as you see, this is a huge one, and there was 44 of them. Yeah, we have two sunken atriums for the gym, which is below the ground, and this is the. Before and after photos.
Yes. And the kindergarten.
And kindergarten was well, actually client wanted that, but we said, why don't we do something which is prefabricated, and it's wood, and then you are showing also that this is green. So we designed it with a local company and tried to do structural design concept, which is simple, 3 units, which are a little bit shifted. We imagine it first in CLT, but then finish it on, let's call it
the problem with the CLT was that they say that it can be delivered like, we were doing this in March, and they said, okay, the first panel we can get like in November. So it was really, something happened on the market in that time, so we turned to the more classical.
And on the end, we did a more classical, let's call it 2x4 system panels, which is completely wood. We designed it together, let's say 3 months, and go.
And we learned a lot about the fire protection of the wood.
And we did this in 2 days. It was assembled 1,000 square meters in 2 days. But that was it, because we were struggling a little bit because a contractor wasn't experienced with the finishing of the project. And we wanted the project from outside and from inside that is wooden appearance and quality. Then came what Zoran said, a problem of the fire protection.
Because this is a public building.
Because we have a lot of connections around, especially in Slovenia, and we contacted, and it was stupid, but that was a regulation. And this is it. This is normal cladding, but it needs to be protected from inside. Below the subconstruction painted, which was crazy, because it's a ground floor unit. That was it, and that was very tough. But the result came inside. That was also wooden panels and everything. Actually, appearance is wooden.
As you can see, we are learning them from little bits to build sustainably, because this is island. What material is this? We just have to install some ArchiCAD software in that. Okay, this kids.
Yeah.
Windows.
So those was moments which actually as addition to the project, and that's it. I'm sorry, a little bit over the theme, the time. And thank you.
Thank you, Sasha. Thank you, Zoran, for sharing with us such a nice journey of your professional work. I also would like to thank you, as you always push us over the limit, especially my colleagues, challenging in techniques, but this is, all the time we learn something new, because you think over the boxes, and this is really unique. And we really appreciate all the time when we are working with you. So thank you very much once more. So dear guests, as I mentioned on the beginning, from the different perspective, we see how we will improve sustainability approach. I hope that you spent a really nice time, that we also learn something, learn from experience, learn how each of us could improve our daily work. And I'm really looking forward to see you next time on your site, on your new projects, and thank you very much for coming. Thank you all. Thank you.